I've been thinking about the original Surface Duo here over the last day or so, now that the Android 12L software update is live. And I don't really know where this video is going to go. Like, I haven't really thought about like what I wanted to say or like points I necessarily wanted to make. I haven't really prepped very well for this video. I just kind of wanted to just generally talk about how incredible the support for this device's software has been, right? When this thing came out, it was not very good, okay? Like, a lot of us loved the hardware because it just was so unique and different. The hardware was so cool. The touch response was bad. There's so many bugs. The black screen bug where one screen would turn itself off. So many problems with this device. But slowly but surely, it started getting better. Then it got worse, but then it started getting better again and better and better. And Microsoft has been like crazy consistent when it comes to software updates. Like, let's look at this for a second. September, October, November. We're not gonna go with these. Look at all these updates. Look at all these updates. Maybe they missed a month here or there, but like, these are, generally speaking, like a lot of these, some of them are just, you know, security patch. That happened, especially as we're getting closer and closer to the big updates. But a lot of these had major bug fixes, added some new features, and then it culminates with the launch of Android 12L. And like, if you go back and you watch some videos of like my first video about Surface Duo, you know, first impressions and reviewing that device, you look at that software, you look at that device, and then you look at it now. You look at the state that this software is in now compared to that. This brand new, beautiful coat of paint that this thing has just gotten, all the new features that it's gotten through the history, through the course of this device being on the market. It is incredible. I really don't know how many devices can say that they've come as far as Duo. Now, there's a big caveat there, right? Because if you start really low, that you've got much further to go, right? Like, the Z Fold 4 is not going to have this sort of transformative life cycle that Duo did because it started in such a good spot. This device started in a terrible spot. It started in a spot that was kind of, you know, for a lot of people, not worth owning because there were too many bugs. And now, man, I've said it before, like, the device has gotten really good. A lot of the problems that we had before, like touch response, the fact that you couldn't swipe away your applications consistently, like, that stuff is just not, it's just not the case really anymore. As long as you're used to using Duo, you can't, you know, there's some things that you don't want to do, right? Like, let's say I have two apps open. This is where a lot of people get confused. They'll try and go home and go home. What you have to do is you have to keep in mind, you got to wait for that animation to play, and then you can go home on the other one. You have to just learn little quirks of Surface Duo. But once you do, the thing is actually quite performant. I would bet you if I took this device and I put it up against my Z Fold 4, and we just took turns just launching applications, launch. Like, I cleared out everything, right? And we just like launched applications side by side. I bet you this thing's actually going to hold up a lot better than you may think that it's going to. Like, watch this. We're just going to scroll through Twitter. Like, it scrolls fine. Like, it's loading everything quickly. It's keeping up. It is doing the job. We have gotten new pin features. The camera has gotten a little bit better over time. We've got more features in the Your Phone app. We've got automatic spanning, and we have a whole host of bug fixes. This last update had literally hundreds of changes to the firmware. This stuff doesn't show up in the changelog. The changelog doesn't mention all these changes to the firmware, but these things are really important, right? They're tweaking things like the Wi-Fi, the sensors. They're bug fixing things underneath the hood, and we've gotten a lot of them. To the point now that, I mean, you can get this thing for like $300-400. I think it's like $320 on Amazon right now, and you can install Android 12L on it, and it's going to be a really solid experience now. I just keep coming back to just how performant this thing actually is now, how smooth this thing is to drive. I mean, even the camera app opens up relatively quickly. Granted, it's not going to take, you know, the best photos in the world, but like, all of it just works so much better than it did at launch. Now, don't get me wrong, it still does have its quirks, right? The fingerprint scanner is still slow. It is a little slow to unlock. The camera is still not very good. Bluetooth is still not very good, but this thing does so many things so well. And look at the form factor. Look at that hardware. Look at the thinness of this thing. And finally, I feel like it has software that not just lives up to the device, to the hardware, it's actually like beyond that now. Like, it's getting to be genuinely good software. You have to keep in mind that Microsoft they're not a company that's been making Android smartphones for 10 years. They've been making them for like 2 years. And to be totally frank, they were only working on Android for like 6 months before Duo 1 came out, right? Like in a perfect world, Microsoft works on Android for 2 years before Duo comes out, right? But that's not what happened. The thing got, and we can talk about that. That's a whole different conversation. Why that happened, how that happened, the fact that's really bad that happened and Duo launched in such a bad state. All that's true. We can say Duo launched in a bad state. We can say that it wasn't great 6 months in, 8 months in. But we can't say that now. Now it's really quite solid. And the job that Microsoft has done, they've kept up to date with all the security patches. And now with stuff like this, it's just, we're beyond security patches. Now we're well past that, and we're well into adding features and really giving us a cohesive experience. Surface Duo now, if it launched like this, like look at this settings app now. Like if it launched like this, like properly looking like Windows 11, can you imagine if this device launched all those years ago, not the device that we got? Can you imagine what the reception would have actually been? I promise you it would have been different. It would have been a very different reception. Might not have been heralded as the next coming of the iPhone, but it would have been very different from where it was. I just think it's extremely impressive, and it's really, really cool that they have stuck with this thing. They did not launch it and then abandon it like so many people said. People have been saying the entire time that they've abandoned it, which is hilarious to me because, again, you can look at the changelog, right? They've clearly not abandoned this thing, okay? They've released a ton of substantial updates. They have stuck to it. Someone at Microsoft believes in this thing, and where they have finally arrived is just really cool. I've been messing around with this, on my Duo 1 for a while now, kind of going back and forth between Duo 1 and Duo 2, both running Android 12L. And Duo 1 is like shockingly good. If you don't need the camera on Duo 2, you don't need NFC maybe is the other thing. This thing for $320 is pretty freaking good at this point, guys. Like you could use it as a tablet. Buy it as a $320 ebook reader, a tablet that can do all kinds of cool stuff. Like it looks cool, it looks unique, it's a different kind of device. What do you think about Duo 1? Are you impressed with the job Microsoft has done? How many of you have actually stuck through from the beginning like I have and seen the full transformation of this device? What do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.